Hello, welcome. I'm Dean Neighbors. This is the student panel that you've all been waiting for. Thanks for joining us earlier. If you were able to, we'll record all of our sessions so that you have a chance to look at this if you weren't able to see any part of the presentations. I'm going to hand things over to Josephine Navas in just a second, but I just want to reiterate couple of things. First thing is that we have programming tomorrow. Again, we are at 11 o'clock a.m. You have links to our Enhancing Your Medical Education webinar and a really special treat at noon, which is Dr. Amy Blair's interview with Dr. Mona Hanna, who wrote What the Eyes Don't See, your common read. And then we have a webinar with financial aid from 1 to 2 p.m. So that to look forward to. We have an on-campus fellowship event if you're in the area at 5 p.m. In the Alumni Center here at the Stritch School of Medicine. So without further ado, because I know you have a lot of questions, I'm going to turn things over to Josephine Navas, our Assistant Director for Admissions.
Well, welcome everyone. We are so excited to have you be part of this student panel. We have 4 amazing students today that are excited to answer all of your questions. So we will allow them each to introduce themselves. You also have a chat, a Q&A section where you can drop your questions there, and then we will answer those questions. But let's go ahead and get started. So if we want to go ahead and start with whoever wants to go first and introduce yourselves, and then let them know what year you are. Don't be shy.
I can go first if you'd like. Sorry. My name is Jackson. I am an M1, and I'm the treasurer for the Medical Student Union.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lasia. I'm also an M1, and I'm the MSU president, or Medical Student Union president.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jacob. I'm also an M1, and I'm the Medical Student Union vice president.
Hi, everyone. I'm Abby. You'll sense the theme that I am also an M1, and I am the MSU secretary.
Wonderful. Well, we will go ahead and get started. We do have some questions that came in. So I will go ahead and get started with those as the questions populate in the Q&A section. So we'll start off with Jackson. Jackson, can you tell us something that inspires you about your work or your studies at Stritch?
Yeah. When I'm studying and I'm feel kind of overwhelmed with how much work I have. I get inspired by just thinking about how hard it was to get to this point. That it's a privilege to be studying medicine at all, and that's really what inspires me. And just to think about all the people that came before me and all the knowledge that researchers have done in the past. Like medicine is one of the oldest professions, and it's just so cool to be able to learn everything that people from past generations have discovered.
Yeah. Is there anyone else who would like to add to that? All right. Well, then I will go ahead and ask another question. Jacob, can you describe your mentor or advisor experience as an M1?
For sure. Yeah, we have quite a few mentors as an M1. We have an M2 mentor that you fill out a form at the beginning of your M1 year that sort of mentions like where you're from, your interest in medicine, and it pairs you with someone, an M2, who is also sort of interested in the same things that you are, same specialties, maybe from the same area as well. And then you sort of meet with them at various points through your first semester. And it's really like a good way of sort of getting your foot in the door in terms of research or learning what opportunities you have at Stritch. We also have through PCM, which is Patient-Centered Medicine, which is one of our classes. We have an M3 mentor, and your M3 mentor, you shadow once your first semester and once your second semester. You see the different rotations that they go through, and they're also another great resource for advice or learning more about how the classes operate as you get through your years at Stritch. And then you also have a physician preceptor mentor through PCM, which you shadow once your first semester and twice your second semester. And I think there's definitely other opportunities as you get involved with clubs to meet new physicians, other students that have the same interests as you, and you're definitely be willing to help you during your first year.
Thank you, Jacob. All right, we have a question that came into the chat by an anonymous attendee. What are some apartments or areas that students stay at while attending Stritch? I'm coming in person and would like to tour some places while in the area.
Most students who want to live immediately around campus live in either Forest Park or Oak Park. Those are the two neighborhoods that are right next to campus. They are right next to each other, and there's I want to say like probably half of our class lives there and within like a mile of me. I live in Forest Park. There are some people that do live downtown in like West Loop or other areas closer to the city. So it really just depends on you know, your personal preference, whether you want to be in the city or a little bit further out, closer to campus, what you want your commute to look like on a daily basis. But I would say probably like 50% of our class lives within like a 2-mile radius, which is really convenient for hanging out and making friends.
Thank you, Abby. Anyone else want to add to that?
Sure. So just to add on to what Abby said, most students typically stay in the Forest Park, Oak Park area for their first year, and then they try to venture out maybe into the city in future years. But I do think that staying local has a lot of advantages. Local as in Oak Park, Forest Park, has a lot of advantages just because I think, at least for the first year, it's pretty important to be close to campus and then make that decision of whether or not you want to be further once you're more acclimated to the environment. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. There are a variety of apartment complexes with different price points. So it really is dependent on your budget and whether or not you're going to have a roommate. I used apartments.com, which is very well known, but it works. And there are also some apartment complexes that are available or units that are available through the Stritch Facebook, I think. And those have really good options in terms of housing too. Some things that I would keep in mind because you are moving to Chicago, and this is coming from someone who used to live in California and didn't have to think about these things, but central heating, central air conditioning, and covered garage parking. You don't need to have covered garage parking, but I think it can be helpful depending on your situation. So those are just some things to keep in mind when you are moving.
Thank you. All right, we have another question. What is one thing you wish every incoming medical student knew about Stritch before they started?
I can start for this one too. I think a lot of students tend to stress out over things that they don't have control over, especially before starting medical school. There are so many unknowns to take into account when you're kind of transplanting yourself into a new environment. And I think something that I wish I could have told myself is to save the worry because everything really does work out the way it's supposed to. You will come here if you decide to come here and find your people, find organizations, and find whatever it is that you're interested in. And stressing out doesn't make it any better. So just kind of trusting the process, I believe, is a huge part of it.
think one of the things that I wish I knew is like there's been so much change and like personal and emotional like growth over the past almost 8 months, and there are some days where I feel like I'm a totally different person at times, but I have so much time, more time than I guess I thought I would, to do the things that I enjoy, like reading, crocheting, cooking, and doing things with my friends. Like you absolutely can and will make priority for the things that you care about. You are not entering like all you have to do is study. Like you will have more time than you realize. Of course, that comes with like learning how to study and prioritizing what is important to you, but you will have more time and flexibility and freedom, especially in your first year, in your first semester, than you might anticipate.
Thank you. Okay, next question. Hi, thank you all for your time and answering our questions. My question is in regard to the grading system. How do students generally feel about the 2 years of graded clinical years as opposed to pass-fail? What is your preference and why?
I can answer this to the best of my ability. We're not in the graded clinical portion yet because we're all M1s, but from my understanding, I believe that having a tiered grading system, especially in your third and fourth years, makes it so that when you're applying for residencies and in your chosen specialty, you can show that you are exceptionally committed to that specialty when you're rotating. So let's just say I wanted to go into gen surg. When I'm on my surgical rotation, I can get, I think it's high pass, right? Or is it, I think it's honors, then high pass, pass fail. So if you get honors on your rotation of choice, then residency directors, they'll see that and be like, oh, not only did she pass, she got an honors. So that would show that I did better in proportion. Pass fail is really great, especially for preclinical years, which is what we have, because it kind of takes the pressure off of doing insanely well. Like we really just need to make it through the class. But in your clinical years, it makes it so that residency directors get a better understanding of who you are as a student and what your commitments are, as well as the amount of effort that you're putting in, so that they can rank you and see how well you are doing, it's kind of a double-edged sword. So I would think of it more in that way than just it being a con as opposed to a pass-fail system.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was trying to think about how to answer that, but Lasia, that was that was perfect. Yeah.
Okay, next question. What are some ways students can feel supported by Stritch? This can be academically, professionally, or personally.
I do think one of the best parts about Stritch is just the community is fantastic. And maybe part of that is also because your first few years is pass fail. So everyone's just sort of like in it together. And you're very like, there's so many opportunities for clubs, for research. It's definitely a very collaborative environment. And as for like opportunities for like resources for school, ACE is a great resource for academics. I think it's Academic Center for Excellence. There's also like a class like group chat on Slack, essentially, which everyone is a part of. If anyone finds a particularly good resource, they share it. Just very collaborative. There's also, I think, like class drives as well. Just if anyone finds useful information, useful material, people are pretty good about sharing the information with everyone. So it feels like a very just like cohesive environment with everyone in classes.
Yeah, the class drive that Jacob was just talking about is really useful. For most of the exams that I've been taking, I just go to the class drive and I go to the the Anki decks that are there. I don't know if anyone is familiar with Anki, but it's this study resource, and that's basically uh, how I've how I've been surviving the past 8 months, and it's really helpful to have all these other students who've accumulated all these resources.
All right. What made you choose Stretch? What are you enjoying now while at school? Thanks for being here.
I can go ahead and answer first. Stritch was one of two medical schools that I got into last cycle, and I'm really glad I decided to come to Stritch. I was originally a part of another BSMD program in California and came here for a myriad of reasons. But I think one of the biggest things was truly just that Stritch was great at supporting my needs financially as well as in terms of community. I wanted to live somewhere that I haven't lived before. I was born and raised in California, and I have no regrets, like not a single one. I think my family has also been really supportive of me coming here, and not once have I felt isolated, which I think is a huge thing for someone to be able to say after moving across the country. So I do feel like there is so much support and so many resources if you are looking for that. And once you come here and you surround yourself with your class, it is very much the culture is really just let's all get through this together. Like we are not a competitive institution in any way. And everyone here is always trying to uplift each other. And I think that that culture being shown to me through events like this prior to my matriculation was a huge reason as to why I joined. And ever since I've started here, some of the things that I've been enjoying are just doing the things that a medical student would do, but having a lot more fun with it than I would have in the past. Like studying can be more fun when you're doing it with friends in a nice coffee shop or even in a conference room at school with a lot of people. Like it's just having the right people makes everything much better. So, um, yeah, I think those are definitely some of the things that I'm enjoying.
That leads me to my next question. Um, what are some fun things students do outside of studying? Do you feel like you have time for your friends, family, and hobbies? And how do you manage that with school?
I think one of the nice things that Stritch does is after you start your first class, like the beginning of let's say like it's July, they wait to have the activities fair until after your first exam, so you can sort of get used to the curriculum, the pacing of like learning content, and then after that first exam, there's an activities fair where you get introduced to a bunch of different clubs, like intramural sports. I feel like Stritch has pretty much a club for everything. But that's just a great way to meet upperclassmen as well as meet other M1s who are interested in the same things. And that's definitely a great way to sort of branch out from the academic side of things. And yeah, I don't know if anyone has anything to add to that, but definitely found that to be helpful.
I think the gym here at Loyola is uh, a really good part of the whole package. It's I learned that it has the largest indoor track in Illinois, and uh, it has like so it's a one story and then a second story of all the equipment you could use, and I go there pretty often, and I know a lot of other med students go there too, and that's another bonus.
So can someone tell them what does a typical week look like for you as an M1 and how much structured versus unstructured time do you get in your schedule?
Yeah, so not gonna lie, like it's a lot of studying. Typically we're going to have anywhere between like 12 to like 14-ish new lectures a week. Most of those are going to be asynchronous, so they're pre-recorded and you just watch them whenever you want, but every single one, even the ones given live, are recorded, so you can watch them. So I personally never go in person to class. I really enjoy pausing professors and writing notes. So, and I can't do that live. So I um will, watch the lecture, and obviously there's various ways of going about studying it. Usually for when you start Stretch right in the beginning, you're on campus every single day for the first like 2 months. Really the first like 4 or 5 actually, which honestly is really nice because you have to meet everyone, and you have to know people. And so now, like, we're not on the second semester, you're not on campus as much. So when I do go and I see people, it's like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in so long. And it's like a bit of a nice thing to go and see people and chat for a few minutes. Um, I'm working on studying um probably like 50, 60 hours a week, like depending on the week. Maybe like, but it heavily depends. And not when I say like working, I'm saying like I'm studying, I'm doing anything related to school, including like club things, including like random like meetings with MSU, like that's kind of included. So it's not all like strict um studying, and kind of the structure is very much what you make. Um they tell you what lectures are like assigned every day, but it's very much your responsibility to um maintain it yourself. And the school has resources to like how to help you to do that. Um and things like that. So it's a lot of figuring out what learning looks like for you with the material given, um, and executing that to the best of your ability, which is nice that there's so much unstructured time for you to be able to do that.
I'd just like to add, I think a lot of the time that you are spending throughout the week comes from your personal preference and how you're managing it. Some students like to take on extra research projects, or they have specific commitments with organizations, and all of those things do add time. In terms of solely lectures and just the studying that accompanies that, um, I think the most honest answer I can give you is that it really varies week to week. I would say December till February-ish can be a specifically stressful time for students because there's a lot of new things that you are learning to manage. But other than that, there are some weeks that are pretty nice. Like this week, we had no exams, so it has been relatively chill. And I don't think that my sleep has ever been compromised just for the sake of an exam, or really just for the sake of anything. So it is truly how you prioritize things, and don't be overwhelmed because Stritch does a really good job of kind of acclimating you to the environment. They do not just throw you off into the deep end. And I think I can speak on behalf of our whole class when I say that right now, our year is much harder than it was at the very beginning, but I feel equally as overwhelmed now as I would have back then, if that makes any sense. So, all in all, it really just depends.
Can you add, or if someone else would like to share, would you say that most students go home and study alone or after class, or do they stay on campus?
I can answer that. I would say it's a pretty even split of people who like to study on campus and people who like to go home. Um, there's uh, a bunch of different places on campus to study. There's like small rooms that you can go to. There's little cubbies. There are these cutouts in the fourth floor that have these little booths in them. There's a whole silent library. I don't know if anyone went in person and saw it, but it's this big sort of glass building. It's just totally quiet, and there's like 40 tables to study at. And then, obviously you can go home and study. I don't have a set thing that I like to do. Sometimes I like to study at home. Sometimes I like to study at school. It can be pretty nice in the evenings when no one's around and you have sort of the whole school to yourself. It can be pretty good for locking in.
I'd like to add there are also lots of whiteboards on campus. So if anyone's a visual learner like I am, it's definitely great to just find a room, draw out diagrams on the board. And Jackson mentioned we have a quiet library. We also have what's called the loud library. So if you study well with a group, you can meet with a few friends there and work through some problems or some lectures together.
Thank you. Okay, our next question. Hi, everyone. Thank you for hosting this session. Could you discuss some of the support structures you've benefited from? Are professors generally open to answering questions and guiding students?
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Who was that?
go
You can
for
go
it,
ahead.
Jackson. Oh, okay. I would say that one of the things I mentioned the asynchronous classes, but one of the things I think Stritch does really well is that there's always like small group sessions where there are professors and facilitators there that are hands-on to give you kind of that more like one-on-one or like hands-on time. There's you get a lot of and there's also review sessions built in so you can have ample time to answer questions. I know that like the anatomy professors, you see them literally all of the time. You see them every single day. They are fabulous. Use them and ask them so many questions. But even for all of the classes, they make you so aware of how to get in touch with them when they are available. If their offices are in a different building, they will come to Stritch. Into Stritch for their office hours, so you don't even have to like walk outside to the next building over. They will come to you so that they are even more accessible to you. A lot of them will have office hours at least 2-3 times a week, if not more. Some of them are like, I have office hours every single day for 3 hours, and I'm like, that's incredible. They're very easily accessible. And are so willing to help you in any way that they can and will explain things to you again and again if you need them to before you understand it.
Another method of contacting professors as well is the website we use for our classes is called Sakai, and it has all of our course material and content and lectures on there. And one of the options is a discussion forum. So for most of your classes, you can just pose a question to the professor, and it can also be seen by the class. And usually they're pretty good about responding on those as well, pretty quickly.
All right. What free mental health resources does the school provide?
I can answer a little bit of this. I have not fully used all of the resources, so I'm not 100% sure. But we have a wellness center here, and I believe that they are they are very easy to get in contact with, to set things up with if you ever need anything. When you have your orientation, they give a full explanation about the benefits that they offer. I do know that they offer therapy if that's something that you guys are interested in through the school. And they're very flexible with the way that they offer that. And they have providers that are available in person and hybrid. So if you want to take your sessions over Zoom, that's definitely an option. I'm not sure how many sessions it is or how long it goes for, but I have heard of students doing it at least once a month for a majority of the year. So if you need support, it is definitely there. And actually, I was going to add this to the last question regarding some of the support structures we've benefited from. The class above us is very, very helpful. we will be the class above you guys when you arrive, but we are also a resource if you guys ever need anything, especially academically, because we will just have been through it. So there are so many people to ask on campus all the time if you ever need things. We do have a drive for all of the academic resources that we have. And as far as setting up studying and study methods, if you're not comfortable reaching out to the professors or going to office hours, there are several students that will be able to answer any questions that you guys might have.
Thank you. Did any of you take a gap year before attending Stritch? If so, what are some of the most helpful resources you use to help the transition? If no one took a gap year?
I took 2 gap years actually, and I was a research assistant and a medical assistant during those 2 years. And I think those were some things that really helped show when I was interviewing for Stritch that I was serious about it. And uh, it was important to do because it sort of affirmed in my mind that, yeah, medicine is something that I want to do. And it's important to get exposed to to some of the things that you're gonna get into.
Thank you. Hi, thank you for being here. My question is for the student who is from California, Lasia, or anyone that is from out of state. How often have you been able to go back home during the school year?
You're not gonna. Okay, so I went back home for fall break, which happens, I would say like 2 months into the school year. And there's also winter break, which is like another 2 months after that. So classes start in July or August-ish, right? And then we have winter break in December, and then fall break is like halfway point. So I went home for both of those breaks. We also recently had a spring break, and I did not go home for that, but that's because I was traveling with my roommate, and I'm planning to go back home for a little bit at the very beginning of summer and also at the end of summer. I'm doing STAR, which is the research program here, so I will be locked in Chicago over the summer, which I am very excited about. I do think that you you can go home maybe a little more often than I did. I didn't, mostly because I think once you are a student, it kind of takes over your life here, and there is definitely a distance. My family and I think once you come here and you get fully integrated into this life and they get used to your absence, um, it is really just like a new balance that you're reaching with them. I wouldn't say that they feel I mean, I'm sure that they would be glad if I visited home more often, but I don't think that anybody really is unhappy with the way things have turned out. I feel like every single time I'm on the verge of becoming homesick, I go home. So it's okay.
Thank you. Can each one of you share what are some of your favorite places to study or work while on campus?
I can go ahead and start for this. So just to preface, I do not study at home. I have tried before. It has not gone very productively. So I typically choose to lock in mostly on campus during the day. It was mentioned earlier, but the quiet library is a really great place. I think for me personally, being surrounded by people who are also studying, inspires me to study. I also sometimes sit in the loud library, and right now I'm actually on the 4th floor, and there's a lot of study rooms here. So campus has a good number of options. Um, I spend most of my time here, but I think that's something that I actively choose to do. I also occasionally will study in different study areas in Oak Park. We have a really good set of coffee shops and a lot of apartment lobbies are also very nice and kind of underrated. So there are a lot of options in terms of studying, especially if you want to keep your home relaxation life separate from your student productive life.
To add on to what Lasia said, definitely the loud and quiet libraries are really great places to study. There are also 2 Paneras on campus, and they have I'm not sponsored by Panera at all, but they have a membership where you can get free coffee. So definitely a very useful resource as a medical student. And they also have like quite a bit of seating where you can just sit down, watch lectures, have coffee. It's a pretty nice environment to study in as well.
I can go next. I like to be completely alone when I study. I like to be isolated where like no one can see me at all. So there are a few rooms that, I go into and I just close the door and I'm just, by myself. And those are really good. There's some spots. There's a computer lab on the 3rd floor that I go to sometimes and no one's in there. And there's some really nice natural lighting if you're into that. So that's what I do.
I I'm lucky that I have like a separate office area at my house. So I'm able to kind of separate um at home and do work there. Anywhere with a whiteboard, because I'm a writer for studying, so there's whiteboards everywhere. Um, and then I'm a recent silent library convert, especially because the glass really lets in the light. Um, so you can like feel like you're outside. I'm like getting my sunlight, getting my vitamin D, um, while also being close to the plug in case my computer dies.
Yeah, it is a beautiful place to study. Okay, do you think you have time to work electives into your schedule? I'm interested in medical Arabic, but not sure if taking the extra time commitment would be counterproductive.
Oh, it's completely doable. I'm taking medical Polish, and it's really just I'm for Polish, it's just once a week, like a half hour. I'm pretty sure it's the same thing for other languages. You other guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not a problem.
I know so many people that take different electives, and like I took medical Spanish and it was great. It's just like if you want to make it work, you will. Um, and they are timed where it like fits into your schedule. Like you're not gonna miss a class or something required for like an elective. Like everything is scheduled um thoughtfully in that way. So, but yeah, do it. A lot of people do electives. I would say like most everyone in our class has done an elective at this point. Um, so yeah.
That leads me to the next question. What activities have you all gotten involved with while at Stritch? Specifically, if anyone has worked or become involved with any of Stritch's service-based extracurriculars or clubs, I would love to hear about your experiences so far.
Yeah, there's a lot of clubs at Stritch. I think there's close to 100. Um, yeah, pretty much a club for anything you could want. I had an idea for uh, a volunteer coaching club. That wasn't something that we had before this year. And it was something that I started. So if you want to, you can start your own club, and it's probably good for the CV going into residency.
Anyone else?
I'm a part of a few clubs here at Stritch. I'm on board for the ophthalmology interest group. And as part of that, we do free eye clinics at the Forest Park Blue Line station. That's, I think, one Thursday every month. I'm also not on board for, but I work with BHBP regularly, which is Beyond Hunger Blood Pressure, and they do like drive-through blood pressure screenings. And then I'm also on board for SWAG, which is Student Wellness Advisory Group. And we just have like occasional events throughout the year just for student wellness. Just like we had one, which was coasters and cupcakes, where we brought cupcakes and then had like students sort of like arts and crafts table set up during what was essentially like our finals week, just sort of for a break from studying, which was nice.
Thank you. Could you touch a bit on what a typical exam schedule looks like? Is it consistent throughout the year or dependent on the block course?
Every 2 to 3 weeks is an exam. That's not necessarily an exam in the same class. Yeah, I would say every 2 weeks. You will probably exams are only on Mondays or Fridays. Everyone has a different day that they prefer. Friday you get a free weekend, Monday your weekend is studying. So, and then either a morning exam starts at either 8:30 or 9:30. Most of our exams are morning ones. It's pretty consistently every week or so. There's generally 3 or 4 exams like per class. So you have the opportunity, like if you don't do well on one, to kind of make it up in the others. But it does vary a little bit depending on like what else is going on. But like I mentioned before, they know because everyone is taking all the same classes at the same times, the exams are scheduled in a way where things are spaced out, and exam and lectures and things are scheduled in a way where it's exam days are kept in mind, which I do really appreciate, especially because we have a lot of Monday exams this upcoming semester, and we have a lot of Fridays that are very like free just before them, which I really appreciate.
Is there a peer tutoring program at Stritch?
I can answer. So we do. We have multiple peer programs. One of them is a peer tutoring program. We have a center called ACE, which Jacob mentioned earlier. It stands for Academic Center of something. But essentially, it's just a network of upperclassmen who have kind of dedicated a portion of their time. And you can contact them at any time and ask them for a tutor for any class. You don't have to be struggling with the class. Academic Center for Excellence. Thank you, Dean Neighbors. So you can tutor or you can set up a time to get a tutor and meet with them at your convenience for any time. Typically, you'll get their contact information and they will be your tutor for that class. So it is really truly just based off of your needs and how much time you need, as well as how much time they can give you. I utilized this resource once at the beginning of the school year, and I think it helped me a lot. I remember specifically being very confused about my Anki settings, and my tutor just kind of went in and changed everything so that it was more relevant for our current curriculum. And I have not changed those settings since, so it works.
Okay. Is it easy for students to get involved in research? Do students do research at other institutions in the Chicago area?
I can answer. I'm on a few research projects right now with different specialties, and I I don't think students specifically have really had any difficulty getting involved if it's something that they've wanted to do. I do think it is important to be proactive about getting involved. If you're sure that you want to do research, getting to know the people who are involved in the specialty of your choice and making those connections early on, I think makes a pretty big difference for when you're trying to get onto projects. People try to find their physician mentors as early as possible. I personally have not found a specific mentor because I'm not sure what specialty I want yet, but just in general, a lot of students on campus here are involved in research. And as for different institutions, I do know some people who are involved in other institutional research, and I do think it is definitely possible. I think it helps if you already know someone at that institution. But if you don't, getting their email or talking to someone that you know that is involved in another project, truly it's just about networking. So when you come to campus early on, trying to find those people and get to know them makes a difference.
Yeah, and sorry, who is that?
Go for it.
Okay. Someone early on mentioned STAR. So the STAR program is a research program that you do in the summer between your M1 and your M2 year. And the students do STAR to be eligible for research honors. So, when you graduate, your graduation, they say so-and-so graduates with research honors. So you do STAR to be eligible for research honors. And it's a program in the summer, and you find a research mentor and you do a study over the summer. So that's usually you do that here at Loyola over the summer, but there's also an option for STAR equivalency where you can pair up with a research mentor basically anywhere else. Like for me, I'm doing STAR equivalency. I'm going back to Michigan, where I'm from, and I'm going to be doing a study with a researcher at a Michigan hospital.
I will say another great resource at Loyola specifically is there's an event in, I think it's October, called St. Albert's Day, where a lot of people, upperclassmen, present on their research. And there's literally posters everywhere on campus, and you can walk up. They're organized by different specialties, so you can just kind of walk around. If you see something you're interested in, you can ask the person there who's presenting, and they may or may not, have openings. But it's just a great way to have that outreach if you find something you're interested in.
Here's the fun question. What is parking like on campus?
Jackson, do you want to answer that? Or just
Maybe I'm not the best person to answer this, but so the medical students, I think the first and second years park at CDEC, which is maybe a 7-minute walk from campus. And then I think that the third and fourth years get to park in a closer deck. Is that right? Does anyone else know that?
the walk is indoors, by the way.
It
So
can be indoor or outdoor, depending on your preference. In the winter you want to go indoors. There's a nice route outdoors that's actually, I've timed it a minute quicker if you want. But yeah, so the parking is this, big structure, about five stories, and you swipe your badge and you go in. Yeah, that's basically all I got.
Didn't mean to trigger you there.
Sorry.
All right. To all the panelists, what is your favorite nearby restaurant? Please don't say Panera.
I actually worked at Panera in high school, so my answer is definitely not Panera. I really like a place that I found really good ramen at, but it's like 20 minutes away. So if you're looking for a recommendation for this weekend, this is not it. but Kaze Sushi and Thai has very good ramen. It's got very good sushi. I've not tried their Thai food, but it's really good. And that is my post-exam, when I can afford it, meal of choice.
There's a pretty good bubble tea place about 5 minutes from campus called The Wolf. I've definitely been there with friends after exams. It's pretty good bubble tea.
Anyone else?
The hospital cafeteria is also not bad. And that's another thing about Stritch that not every medical school has is a hospital that's literally connected to the school. So there's a tunnel that you go through from the medical school into the hospital building, and you can that makes it easy to shadow physicians and other higher upperclassmen med students as well. But yeah, there's a cafeteria in the main hospital that has a lot of good food.
I don't know about favorite, but it's pretty close to campus and it's very convenient. I really like Thai food, and there's this place called White Crane, which is nearby the Maywood area, and they have amazing sushi, and I really love their I think it's their pad see ew. It's fire, and their tom yum soup, and their Penang curry. Actually, this list would go on for a really long time, but really good food. So if you guys are looking for recommendations close to campus when you visit, I highly recommend. And also just in general in the Oak Park area, there are so many good food spots. So you can't go wrong necessarily, but White Crane specifically is great.
I forgot to mention as well, there's a Kava that just opened in Oak Park, which was a big deal last semester. I think it's the first one in Illinois. So that's definitely nice to have close by as well.
I did not have kava where I used to live, and it's so good. Yeah, no regrets living here.
That leads me to my next question. If you are from out of town, do you like living in Chicago? Debating between moving to LA or Chicago and never, wait, I'm sorry, yeah. Debating about moving. So if you can talk a little bit about that. Living in Chicago, if you're from out of state.
I will preface by saying you aren't really living in the city of Chicago here. You live 15 to 20 minutes away from the city in like an apartment complex. The area is really nice, Oak Park, Forest Park, and you can choose to move to the city later on, or you can start out in the city initially too. This is just kind of what most students do. My roommate and I are looking to move into the city next year, and so far, all of my experiences have been very positive, and it's my first city, so I've really enjoyed it a lot. I have visited LA several times before, and I would say I prefer Chicago personally. But really, it's just a matter of personal preference. It does get very cold here, which I'm sure you guys have heard, and I think my cold tolerance has increased. So in hindsight, I can be like, oh, it's not that bad. And I really don't think it's like that bad, but I do own an Aritzia Super Puff that goes down to my ankles. So that could be contributing to this decision.
Okay. Is anyone involved in either a dual degree program or any of the honors programs at Stritch? If so, how has it changed your experience or day-to-day schedule?
I'm in bioethics honors, which is it involves you taking a series of what they call boot camp classes, which I think I just finished my last one last week. And I think there's like 7 of them that you take every couple weeks, and you're starting your second semester. And the classes are about an hour long, and they're designed to, at least for bioethics honors, just to give you a better understanding of, bioethical principles and making sound moral judgments when it comes to treating the patients. And it's not, for me, it has not at all been something that has been detracting from my studying at all.
Thank you. Okay, we have time for one more question. So we'll end with this one. What do you enjoy the most about medical school so far? And if everyone can go around and just share a little bit.
I can start. This is going to be kind of a trite answer, but I will say the biggest thing is really just the community here. I really have gotten to know some of the best people since I've came here, and I think that it has made this experience so wonderful, and I have truly enjoyed it. I will say, I also think that the social calendar here is very cohesive, which I really enjoy. Like I really like that everyone is kind of operating on the same schedule. So everyone has the same free weekends, everyone is going through things at the same time. I think it makes it a very unified journey in terms of what we're doing here. It is kind of a trauma bond, but not really, because we also have very good times here. And I think just in general, I feel like just generically, when you become a medical student, you are kind of embodying this idea that whatever you want to do, if you set your mind to it, you can do it. And I think that that mindset has really pushed me to take on more responsibilities and do a good job with it. And when I started medical school originally, I don't think that I foresaw myself stepping into this role, for example, or really taking on any of the commitments that I have in this past year. And I think this whole journey has kind of shown me that I can really do whatever it is I want to do. So I think just keeping that sentiment close to your heart when you are coming here and realizing that every single time you go through something difficult, it's really just life's way of telling you that if this is hard for you now, next time it'll be easier, and so on and so forth. So I think in that way, we have all really grown so much in this process, and I think that's the most positive thing that could have happened.
Not to copy Lacia, but I would also probably say the community here at Stritch has definitely been maybe the biggest highlight the past year. And coming straight from undergrad, I feel like there's definitely a pre-med mentality, which is very, it feels cutthroat in a way. Whereas, you got to be the top of your class, you have to have the best grades, and it definitely doesn't feel like that here at Stritch. Everyone's in it together. Like Lacia said, we have the same class schedule, so it makes it easy to plan things on weekends, sort of have a life apart from academics, which at times can feel like maybe that's difficult to do, but it definitely is something you can do your first year. And I would say, yeah, the community for sure.
That school is fun. Oh, sorry, Jackson, you can go.
Okay, sorry. My favorite part about med school is the challenge of it. Um, you know, like I'm sitting there faced with uh this chemistry things that I haven't been exposed to since undergrad. I'm just like, come on, Jackson, you can do this. And it for me, it's fun to push myself through a challenge like that.
I was gonna say, like, med school's it's fun. To like it's fun to learn all this stuff. It's fun to see how much your brain can expand. Um, it's fun to see the same people every single day and yeah, make really great friends. The community, I'm not gonna harp on that much more than other people already have, but truly is the best part. But yeah, it is, I mean, it's hard, but it's fun at the same time learning all this stuff. It's um makes you think like, wow, I'm actually like doing the thing that I've always wanted to do. Um And yeah, when that hits you and it's like, oh, that's a shocker, pinch me, it doesn't feel real. It's yeah, or when you do something right, it's like, I know what I'm doing. The little moments in between all the studying and the cramming and everything else. But yeah. But congratulations to everyone on getting in and making it this far. And I know that everyone else on the panel agrees with me that we're all super excited to see you all here in August.
Thank you so much to our students. The recording will be available online. Thank you for joining us. We will see you tomorrow for our Enhancing Your Education webinar at 11 o'clock Central Time. Have a great evening.
Thanks, everyone.
Go ahead and end it. Thank you so much, guys. I'll touch base with you guys tomorrow.
Thank you. Bye.